I'm going to do a tutorial on the use of Artemis. It's a fairly simple software, but obviously when you're new to it, um, it would be helpful to know what a lot of the controls are for. I'm just going to do the very basic stuff in this first tutorial because I'm using freeware to record this and I get a maximum of 10 minutes recording time. So this is going to be part one. Now, if you look at all these things across the top and the file and everything, you will see, first of all, I've connected to my Attic camera, which is an Atix 460EX. Don't worry about if your camera is different, as long as it's an Attic, because it will work just the same on each one. The boxes that you'll need open is display, view display options, and exposure. And you need the filter wheel open, which is this one up here. You see it's open here. And my filter wheel is on default to position 1, which is normal for the filter wheel. You need to arrange your filters so you know what position each filter is in. And then you have this cool box, which at the moment it's actually warming up, so I'll come back to that in a minute and show you how it works. This is my set point cooling, the figure that I choose it to be cooled down to, and this here is telling you what the current temperature is. So at the moment it's warming up because this is my second attempt at doing this tutorial this morning, but you can see the temperature is going up. So once it's got back to normal temperature, I'll show you how to cool. So moving along here, I don't use any of these. This one here is for subframe definition, if you only wanted to image part of the frame. I've never used it. You can use it if you want to focus on a star, but I tend to find that this zoom button works really well. So again, it's not something that I use, it's not essential. This is the marker mode, so you can mark the positions of the stars, so when you come back to the same image at a later date, you can put it in exactly the same position. That's something I've only very recently learnt how to use. Very useful tool, and but I'm not putting it in part one. So here we've got a snapshot, we've got looping, which is very fast downloading, or at least it's the length of each frame, which is denoted by what's in this exposure. So if you wanted to loop and do it quickly for frame and focus, it works out very much like live view on a DSLR, and I tend to do 1 second exposure, and I bin ×3, which allows the download to be really quick. So once you've found your star you're going to focus on, you can zoom right in and get a nice view of it. And that, if you're using narrowband, I usually find you need to do 2, 3, or 4 seconds binned ×3. Now, whatever you do, make sure that you put that binning back to 1 when you want to do your actual imaging, because you don't, most of the time, you won't want it binned. So that's that. And this is the sequencer. So you can set up a sequence using the different filters and the different binning and the different lengths and things, and just go away and leave it running. But I'm not going to do that in part one. So let's close that for now. So you can change the filter wheel if you just want to do it manually by just selecting a filter, and your filter will change. So in a second, you see that's come up as filter number 5. So that's a simple way of changing your filters. If you're doing it in the sequencer, then you don't need to use that. So let's have a look at this. I'm just going to see how my time's doing. Right, we're just under 5 minutes at the moment. Let's have a look at this display thing, which is very useful. Oh, and we can, sorry, 1 second, let's go back to the cooler. That's gone back to ambient temperature now. So to cool, at the moment, my set point cooling I've chosen is -10. I don't go down to more than -15. I find that ample. Some people like to run their cameras at the lowest point it will go, and I don't know whether I'm right or not, but I just feel it's going to put an extra strain on the camera and wear it out sooner. So I find -15 is absolutely ample. So all you do is just click cooler on, and it says the status is cooling, and here the temperature will tell you what it's cooled down to. So you'll know when it's reached -10. So already it's gone down to 23.1. So we're going to look now at this box up here, the display box. Now I always have auto stretch ticked and the reticles ticked because I find the reticle extremely useful. It's useful for centering your target, centering your alignment stars, and again, you know, when you use this marker mode to get the image in the right position. Now, one thing I find extremely useful is when I've actually captured some data, particularly when I'm looping, like I explained, looping stroke live view. If you put the display into the negative, your image will reverse itself. So white will be black and black will be white. And if you use this log slider and move it down as to the left, it will take the brightness down and it will show your nebulosity very, very clearly if you found your target. If you don't do it in negative, then you need to move the slider in the opposite direction, and that will work as well if the target's bright enough. But I do find that doing it in the negative very, very useful. So you can play around with that. The other thing that you can have is you can turn the whole screen red for night vision. It won't turn the whole computer red, but it will certainly turn the whole of Artemis red. Just checking my time. Right, so over here we've got the exposures. What you don't want to do when you're looping is tick this autosave images, because you'll just end up with hundreds and hundreds of files that you don't want. Now, what you should really do first is click the browse button. I don't know whether that's going to open or not, but that should select where you want your image to be filed away and what you want to call it. For some reason or other, it's not wanting to choose anything. I wonder if that's because I've already got my browser open. Well, anyway, that is what you click on when you want to choose and name the image. Once you start imaging, then you can click this autosave images. Now, if you just want to do one filter for the whole evening, you don't need to use that sequencer. So what you can do is you can set, say you wanted to do 600 seconds, binned ×1, and down here you wanted to do it on luminance. So then in here you'd click this browse button, you'd choose your folder, and you would say, just for example, say we're going to do M31 and 600 seconds. And then once you've named it, you can just, I wonder if it's because I've got this. No, it's not. So to start the image off, you just click on loop and autosave images, and then it will start down. If you look down here, it's telling you there is 9 minutes 50 seconds left on this sub exposure to do. So I'm stopping now.